Starrcade 91, it's your Wrestle Ride Thanksgiving memory. And yes, I know, Starrcade 1991 was not on Thanksgiving night. Starting in 1988, Starrcade was bumped from its annual Thanksgiving night for the first 5 years. And even before that, you had the Thanksgiving night tradition. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is. But that was basically the Greensboro Coliseum Thanksgiving night shows before it was officially called Starrcade. Moving forth, December 26th or December 27th, 1991, I was lucky enough to be granted a free ticket through a turn of events to Starrcade 1991. A friend of mine invited me. We made the trek, we made the voyage to the Norfolk Scope. And we thought we were just going to have a nice, simple night of seeing National Wrestling Alliance, or at the time, I think it was officially WCW. And there had been some legalities between NWA and WCW over the rights to the NWA name. In any event, here we were. Now, this Starrcade was unique because for the second time in 3 years, 89 being the prior, there was a tournament of sorts. And this is the very first time you'd see something called Battle Bowl. Lethal Lottery Battle Bowl, which I think the WCW used in one form or another all the way to 1996. When it had its own, I think, a June pay-per-view, May or June of 96, or maybe April, a Diamond Dallas Page one. But this one was in 1991 at Starrcade. So you had, I think it was 10 tag team matches, 40 wrestlers involved. Each tag team match was randomly picked, and the legend has it, folks, that these matches were pulled out of a hat or on the spot. Like it was kind of a shoot thing in a sense. Like they had their finish, that they wanted it somehow to come down to Sting and Luger. Spoiler alert, sorry. But they weren't gonna they were just gonna spontaneously do these matches. And a lot of veterans on this show. You had guys like Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes, the fabulous Freebirds that faced off against each other. Bobby Eaton, Larry Zbyszko, Arn Anderson, of course. So it's conceivable that these wrestlers, all very, very good wrestlers, great wrestlers, legends. And it was a fun night. I mean, the matches were not, to be honest, there wasn't a whole lot of great matches. There was one that was pretty wacky. I think it was Bobby Eaton and Brian Pillman teamed up, and Pillman was still a white meat babyface, as they say, against Sting and Abdullah, if I have that right. So that was a wild one. I'm trying to remember who Luger teamed up with to get to the finals. There was like Jushin Liger was in this thing, Vader. I think Vader and Curtis Hughes were a team. But the real thing was all these wacky tag team matches just came and went. Missy Hyatt was there looking hot. Bischoff was there. Our seats weren't great, but they weren't bad. The scope wasn't sold out. I'll be honest, the show, it was just an interesting night. It was just an interesting night of watching these matches. It was fun to be there for free. And just I don't have the greatest memories of it because nothing totally wacky or different that I experienced until after the show. Now, I'll get into that. But when he finally came down, and once again, spoiler alerts if you watch this thing or if you haven't seen it, my friend had won tickets off the radio station. So we go to see this fucking thing. Comes down to Luger and Sting in this wacky-ass fucking two-ring battle royal. And when they finally got down to Luger and Sting, squaring off, beating each other up, Sting the babyface, Luger the heel, that's when it felt like a Starrcade. And I don't think the idea of Battle Bowl Lethal Lottery was bad. I think it was a good idea. I just think it's something that maybe would have been more fun for a different pay-per-view, which eventually they did. but just not for Starrcade. Like, it was too gimmicky for Starrcade. It was kind of like, oh, let's put the Royal Rumble on WrestleMania, to make a fucking WWE analogy for you WWE fans. It was just something that Starrcade did have class to it, and ironically enough, I liked Starrcade 89, the night of the Iron Man tournament. I did like that, but this 91 one was just different. And you didn't have a world title match, you didn't have a US title match. You just didn't have regular matches. You had all these goofiness. And that's when the NWA, now WCW, started to change its calendar around. Like, its calendar started to morph toward Halloween Havoc as the centerpiece blow-off card of the year. And Starrcade was just kind of left flapping in the wind as this kind of... what can I call it? I mean, an afterbirth, placenta. And these days, women are talking about eating their placentas. Some famous celebrity was talking about that. But as wrestling fans, you don't want to eat the placenta. That's not supposed to be Starrcade, to make a very disgusting analogy. So the point of the matter is this, folks. Of all the great wrestling shows I've seen, Starrcade 91 was not among the best, but it was a fun experience. And my friend and I, we get out of that fucking Norfolk scope, and something happened where the car was fucked up. The car that we had, or the horse we rode in on, let's put it that way, the car could not leave. Like, it had car problems. So we ended up in the hotel for the night. Now, this is the week after Christmas and before New Year's, so pretty much everybody is fucking shutting down, folks. And this is 1990 goddamn one, so there's not a lot of shit happening where you can just call your AAA and auto bodies, and there's no cell phones. We ended up staying at some fucking hotel. It was an average hotel. It wasn't a nice hotel. It was average. No pool, no weight room, and it's just two guys watching fucking TV. And I think we were there for at least 2 nights. It was more than one night. We're watching TV. The Kids in the Hall is a big funny thing. And there was a big funny skit on the Kids in the Hall of the flying pig. And the flying pig, if you ever saw this Kids in the Hall episode, the flying pig gets stuck in the electrical wires. And they serve flying pig for Thanksgiving or some such thing. So there was some humor. There was a Pizza Hut nearby, which had a buffet, and I remember we went there a couple of times. So we're a couple of suburban kids, and here we are in the middle of fucking wherever the fuck. Then, eventually, the bus, we had to get on a bus because the car was not operable. This car was not going to get us home in one piece. The car was done. And so we had to get on the bus, and, this is a fun experience. Nothing bad, but we were, quote, the only white guys on the bus, quote, which was just, it was what it was. So we took this bus, we played chess on the bus for hours on end, me and my friend, also Caucasian. And I remember this, African-American lady inquiring us about chess, and she was impressed. She was impressed that we were chess players. So that was a fun story. Eventually we got home in one piece, and the car, I don't know if the car was just, abandoned or thrown into the Norfolk fucking ocean, or the military police in the Norfolk area threw that vehicle in the garbage or something. But it was the end of the vehicle. As far as that time in NWA WCW, a lot of people piss on that time, but you had some good things going on. You had the Dangerous Alliance were coming into their own. Like, the Dangerous Alliance was a storyline on that show, which really, if they had done a more traditional Starrcade, Zbyszko, Eaton, Arn, Steve Austin, and Rude could have really been centerpiece in some good matches. The actual 2-ring battle royals, fun. You can find that on the WWE Starrcade box set. But the matches, I'll be honest, the most interesting thing about those type of battle bowls were the weirdness of it all. But anyway, MikeMessier.com for your NWA WCW Starrcade 91 memory.